And a very good morning to you. Welcome to this morning's United Kingdom Talk here on United Kingdom Radio. Just listening to the end of the news there, one of the American guys was saying, one of the American politicians was saying, we cannot keep America under a glass dome. Do you remember that expression when you were, or if you've newly made mothers often come out with a very, very similar expression. You can't wrap them in cotton wool, i.e. referring to their new babies or children or something like that. And I do know parents that sort of wrap their children. My sister's not one of these, incidentally. But I've known parents over the years who really do wrap their children in cotton wool, and they're not allowed to do this and they're not allowed to do that. Now, I mean, we come on to the subject here, of course, of health and safety as well. You know, this is all tied in with the same sort of thing. Now, when I was small, some of the things we used to do as Cubs and Boy Scouts, and probably in youth clubs all over the country, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to do that now. Certainly not here in the UK. I'm kind of wondering, I don't suppose we have got any Cubs or Scouts or leaders watching or listening to the show this morning, but are you actually allowed to build an open fire anymore? I mean, there were times at certain scout camps you'd have this big pile of wood somewhere on the camp. You know, if you went camping or something, somewhere on that scout or cub or guide campsite would be an enormous pile of wood. And this would be all sorts of wood, you know, offcuts. I always remember one place, they used to take the offcuts from a coffin making factory. Seriously, it would be all these flat pieces of wood of various shapes and that. But also, you'd have those, what are they called now? Pallets. You know what pallets are? They're the big wooden square things that forklift trucks use to lift them up with various different things, you know, bags of whatever, cement or whatever, on these big pallets. And forklift trucks would come along and lift like hundreds of bags of whatever up. And these pallets, we also used to get these pallets on top of the piles of wood. Now, these more often were broken up, and they were full of nails. I mean, not nails, you know, half an inch. 2 or 3 inches these nails were sticking out of these pieces of wood. And sure enough, our leader, wonderful guy called Ted Malden, he died a few years ago. He was our scout leader. He would always tell us to be careful over at the woodpile. But you know how we are, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old, climbing over this wood thing, looking for decent bits of wood to stick on the fire. Why, oh why, none of us ever ended up with a 2 or 3 inch nail in the bottom of their feet, you know, because of course, you know, you went over there in plimsolls. I hate to say this, boys and girls, but there were no trainers then. Can you believe that? Those of you who are young out there, you know, dare I say below the age of 38, have you ever known there not to be trainers? When I was at scout camp, there were no trainers. These things didn't exist. There were no trainers. There was shoes, there was boots, there was plimsolls. There were no trainers. So we used to have on plimsolls during our daytime, and we used to go over this woodpile, climbing over it merrily, you know, generally, and throwing small pieces of, rather dangerously, may I add, throwing small pieces of wood at each other. And I don't remember a single incident of someone stepping on nails, but I can see it now in my mind. I'm closing my eyes and I can actually see that woodpile, and I can see those 3 inch rusty old nails sticking out of these bits of wood on the woodpile. Highly dangerous. Highly dangerous. And Primus stoves. Have you ever worked a Primus stove? Okay, what is a Primus stove? All right, you know those little gas stoves you can get for camping? You just plug on a little bottle of gas, turn the thing on, light it, and away it goes, and it just works, doesn't it? Well, before those, yeah, I know I'm going back a bit. Teacher, I could do history, couldn't I? I could be a history teacher, I think. Anyway, so Primus stoves were run by paraffin, okay? And you would, these were brass units, very, very well made units. They were brass units, and you would undo a little top on the side of this unit. If I can just describe it, it was like at the bottom was like a little tank, you know, where you would put the paraffin in. And on the top of this little tank, which was about, I don't know, about a couple of inches high and about as round as a small saucer. Okay? And in there would go the paraffin. You'd undo the little screw, using a funnel, gently pour the paraffin in, do the thing back up again. Above it was like a burner assembly. Little bit like, I suppose a little bit like a Bunsen burner, only bigger. Right? And it also had a handle at the bottom. And this handle you would pump, okay, to build up pressure inside the reservoir of paraffin, the small reservoir of paraffin at the bottom. And then you would try and light this thing. And more often than not, the entire thing would just go whoosh up in the air. I mean, very dangerous. Are scouts and that allowed to use these things anymore? If you know, then please join in by email. Our email address here is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. There's lots of other things I can remember, actually. Hurtling down hills with just a bit of plastic on top. You know, you'd find a hill in a park or something. You'd shove down a roll of plastic, okay, put a hose at the other end to make it all sort of slippery, and then you'd go flying down these things. You know, complete with the bits of flint and stone underneath. Very, very dangerous. I don't think you'd be able to do these things now, would you? Anyway, excuse me, a couple of messages coming in here. Good morning, Phil, who says, I've been listening to some of your other shows, had a laugh with Fag Ash Lil's breakfast. What does she have for breakfast? I reckon about 3 or 4 cans of Tennent's. That's the sort of person she is. I reckon she has cans of lager for her breakfast. Phil says he used to go camping, and they had a Tilly lamp that used paraffin. Yes, that's right, we had a lamp. Again, you can now buy gas lamps when you go camping, you know. Little lamp, plug in a bottle of gas. Although I don't think you need to do that now, because you can get LED lamps now, can't you? Which are very, very good. Very good indeed. LED lamps. I've got a couple of LED torches. And the wonderful thing with those is, of course, you never have to change the bulbs, do you? So I like those. Tilly lamp. Again, that was a paraffin thing. Lamp on the top, small little tank at the bottom, put the paraffin in, light the thing up. And it also had, it had a wick that would wear out after a while, and you'd have to replace the cotton wick, wouldn't you? Oh, I remember all these things. Yeah, definitely. Good morning to Danny. Morning, Danny, who is in Wrexham in Wales. Wales! Who might be coming down to visit me soon, mightn't you, Danny? Good morning, Danny. Hello. Oh, he's all on his own now, aren't you, Danny? Just like me. Have you been rejected like me? We're losers. Losers. Go on, get your first finger and thumb. You have to put it to your head and you have to say, losers. We are losers. Losers. Me and some of the girls at Belushi's last night in London Bridge were doing this. A packed karaoke last night at Belushi's in London Bridge. I mean, unbelievable. I don't know where they all came from last night. And I got a card last night from some of the regulars saying, we missed you, welcome back. How nice is that? I just think that's a really nice thing to do. Anyway, really good night last night. And there was, let me think, there's a lad that comes, Jack, and his new girlfriend. I don't know how to know. I think she must have been new because they were all over each other all night long. Tongues in the mouth and everything they were. Hands all over the place. I don't think they've been together long. Maybe a month or two, something like that. But anyway, Jack was in last night and they were all getting cuddles and all that. And this girl, there was 3 girls, very nice. There was, what were their names? Lauren, was it Naomi or Natalie? Oh, I can't remember the name of the other girl now. Never mind. Anyway, there were 3 girls. One of them had glasses. And she's saying, why can't I get cuddles and all that like that? We're losers. And I said, I'm a loser. Yep, all losers. And we're going around with big L's on our foreheads. I think in the hope that someone might have taken sympathy and come over and shoved their tongue in my mouth. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. It didn't happen in there. And then this lad come bounding over to me. Excuse me, can you... I said, yes, you're gay as well. He said, oh, I'm trying to act straight. I said, well, it's not working, dear. This is what I love about how some of these bars are turning. They are becoming metrosexual. Anyone can go in there. Anyone can go in these bars now, and it's fantastic. I always knew, 20 years ago, when I started DJing on just the gays, I always knew at some point, I think gay pubs will disappear and everyone will go to the same bars. Which, I just think that's fantastic, don't you? I really do. I really do. Some messages coming in here. Again, good morning to Zach, who's with us in Bath House, New South Wales. No floods there, no bushfires, and no cyclones. Thank God for that. I hope you don't have any bad weather this year. Good morning to Sean, who's in Smyrna. I think that's how you say it in the United States. Good morning, Sean, who says, welcome. He says, greetings from Atlanta, Georgia. Have a great show this morning. Thank you very much for that, Sean. Fag Ash Lil's here. Oh, my God, you see, that's the trouble. You start talking about people and they pop up. They pop up behind your settee, don't they? They really do. Fag Ash Lil says, cheeky sod. Are we allowed to use that word? Is that in my book of word allowed? Tenants is far too strong for me. Oh, do me a favour, will ya? Nothing's too strong for you, Fag Ash Lil. How can you say that? How can you sit there and say that tenants is too strong? We don't believe that, dear. Not for one moment. She says, I'm a Carling girl. I did see a classy guy the other week when I was on my way to the doctor's, though. He was walking down the street with a can of Tennent's with a straw in it. Oh, were you having a laugh? Oh, that's dreadful, isn't it? Actually, there's one bloke that comes down Belushi's on a Wednesday night. His name's Mark, and he's got all this hair. He reminds me of that guy from, what's his name? Woody Allen. He looks like Woody Allen. He's got all that hair. And also that guy, there was a guy in a film, Back to the Future. Who was the one with all the hair? Someone tell me that, you know, loads of almost like a perm. Old bloke. What was his name? Can't think of his name. Anyway, Mark, who's got all the hair in Belushi's London Bridge on Wednesday nights, he's got a pint of lager and he's got a straw in it. I mean, what's all that about? Please, what's all that about? Drinking lager through a straw. All very mysterious, I tell you. Very mysterious. Danny says a train journey, what is this, to my house, to Bracknell and back, will cost 23 quid with a virgin. What do you mean with a virgin? I don't know any virgins. And besides, there is, you must mean virgin trains. Virgin trains. Well, we don't have virgin trains here in Bracknell. We have Southeast. I think it's Southeast. I'm not sure. You probably have to change somewhere. Or is that to London? Do you mean that's to London? Eh? I don't know if he means to London or what. Phil says, how's your solar power working in winter? Well, it depends. You see, it depends how much sun there is. On Monday, I was generating about 900 watts for a long period of time. Okay, you know, for a few hours. But on a cloudy day like this, I don't have my meter with me. I've got a meter downstairs. Actually, I might move that into the studio because it's in the living room. I've got a meter and it tells me how much electricity is being generated at any one time. Probably at this moment, no more than about 150, 200 watts. Okay? Certainly don't get any hot water in the winter. Have to use gas. Terrible. Terrible. Zach says, indeed, thank God for that crazy weather we've been having in Australia. By the way, it's pronounced bat thrust. What's pronounced? Oh, bat thrust. Thirst. Bat thirst. Bat thirst, not bat thrust. Sorry. Bat thirst. Thank you for your corrections. I do appreciate them. I'm sure you want to correct me more. Danny says, from Chester to London, then the underground from Euston to Waterloo, then Waterloo to Bracknell, then you can pick me up. Oh, dear. Well, I've actually had the spare room done up, Danny. Believe it or not. Yes, the spare room has been done up next door, and it's really nice. While I was away, Ron arranged for, three of the rooms and a small room downstairs to be decorated. It's all been done very nicely. I haven't spoken about that yet. We haven't had time, dear. So much to talk about. Fag Ash Lil says, you can use the word sod. It means a piece of turf. A piece of turf? Fag Ash Lil, I thought you lived in one of those hard-to-let blocks of flats in Brighton, didn't you? Don't you live in one of those run-down places? Always a text message coming through. Yeah. It's all happening here, it really is. Now, where were we? I can't remember where we were. We were giving out the email address, yeah. Email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Oh, look, Ross is listening this morning. Ross is listening to us on our live stream in my van. How wonderful. I can listen to it as well on my iPhone. Don't forget the iPhone app you want if you ever want to listen to any of us here on United Kingdom Radio. The iPhone app you want is called TuneIn Radio. I think it's about 59 pence or something like that, okay? TuneIn Radio. Once you've downloaded that for your iPhone, just search for United Kingdom Radio and you'll find us in there. Poor old Ross has gone to work. Someone's rung in sick. Have they? Well, I hope you get a call. Do you get a call-out fee? You do need a call-out fee. Yes. Yes. No info in the title field. I don't know anything about that. Don't worry about technicalities, Ross, for Christ's sake, dear. I can't be dealing with technicalities. Now, you know what? I've barely spoken about my recent holiday to Australia. Always, for some reason, always... usually, again, my best friend Ron, he takes me to the station. He comes to my house, and it takes me to the, not the station, to the airport. So he comes the day before, right? And always, because it's usually a late night, the Australian flights, usually about 9:30, 10:30 at night. So always, Ron takes us to there. And for some reason, on the day that I'm travelling, we always seem to go for a pizza on that afternoon, you know? Strange, isn't it? We always go for a pizza, sort of, around about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is naughty, really, because we're going to get all that, well, at least I am, going to get all that food on the plane. And we went to Frankie and Benny's. Have you ever been to a Frankie and Benny's pizza place? Very nice, very dark in there, very dark and atmospheric, I would say. So that was that. Now, the one thing that I get, and I think, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, the one thing I get whenever I'm going away is really panic. I panic. I mean, big time. I mean, much to the point of feeling quite ill. Does anyone else get this? Panicking before you go away on the plane, right? I would say to you, I'm not scared of flying. Or at least I don't think I'm scared of flying. I think I kind of switch off and don't think about the fact that there's nothing underneath me for miles and miles. You know. I mean, sometimes when you're flying, you get that bit of turbulence. And people say, you know, turbulence is quite safe. I mean, I don't know what they mean by that, quite safe. You know, if the plane starts going up and down a bit because it's hit some air or something somewhere. You know, I have a feeling that most of the planes that fly over my house get terrible turbulence whenever I'm doing a show because of the hot air coming out of my mouth. But is turbulence really dangerous or what? Phil in Hoddesdon says, flying makes your arms ache. Well, you're doing it wrong, dear. You've got to get on a plane, dear. Don't try and fly. Yeah, go on, then do it, Phil. Go up to the 14th story of a block of flats and see if you can fly. Ring us back if you achieve that, okay? So I don't think I'm afraid of flying. I kind of switch off to the facts of what's going on around me. But it's the worry of preparing to go. I really get in such a state, such to the point that whenever I'm going away, that day, you know, if a flight's in the evening, that day, okay, I constantly tell myself I'm not doing this again because of the worry, the anxiety. It's a worry, you know. Papers, for example, you've got to have all your papers. You've got your tickets, your passport, your money, your medical insurance, all these bits of paper that can at any time be lost. You know how easy it is to lose them. And then, where do you put them? Do you put them in your pocket in your trousers? Do you put them in the pocket in your jacket? Do you put them in the pocket in the side of the case? In which case, which one? and you might put them in the wrong case, the one that goes in the hold. So by the time they've got the case in the hold and all that, and then you go, oh, where's my passport? It's in the wrong case. I get in such a state the day before the day of the travel. And actually, even coming up to that, I keep looking in the case, keep checking what I've got, keep looking at the paperwork. Terrible. Lateness, that worries me. Being late. What if on the way there, the car breaks down? What if the car won't start in the first place? Then you're going to have to get a cab. What if the cab isn't available for a while? Really awful, awful. I hate it. I absolutely hate I hate travelling. Seriously, I hate travelling. Funny, isn't it? And yet I've been to some wonderful places. Wonderful places. Lateness for the plane. You can't be late for a plane because it just doesn't take off. It just goes, doesn't it? It's not like waiting for your mate, you know, who's probably in the room next door doing his hair or something like that. Or your girlfriend who's just, you know, popped into the bathroom to do another 4 hours of makeup before she goes out shopping. It's not like that, you know. You can't wait. The plane will just go. So lateness worries me as well. Seriously, I sit there in the lounge. Sometimes, I don't know, hoping that I'm going to miss the plane. Funny, innit? You go through checking the bags in. I start worrying that the bags are going to be too heavy. Or that perhaps in the hand luggage, they've suddenly found something that I shouldn't be taking with me, like a pair of scissors or or a piece of a bottle with too much liquid in it, because you're only allowed 100 mils of liquid. I did actually have, do you know what I'd taken off me at security? Deodorant. Honestly. They took off me a bottle of deodorant because it was too big. It was 150 mils, I think, and you're only allowed 100 mils. I mean, it was a tin. It was a spray tin. I mean, how anyone could have interfered with that without it being noticed, I don't know. But anyway, they took that off me at security. And I find that's a worry. It's embarrassing. Fortunately, with the particular ticket I had, I go for the express, the fast lane, at the security and all that. So there's not too much of a queue back. But can you imagine when there's a queue behind you and then they start going through your bag and pulling out all these bits and pieces? You know. Or I have to take pills every morning. I take pills every day, right? And I have those in the bag. What if they start questioning me about those? They might think there's some sort of illegal drugs or something like that. And it's just such a worry. Oh dear. And of course this time I had the added worry that the house wasn't ready for the decorator. I kept worrying that the decorator was going to get here and I hadn't moved this or I hadn't moved that. And my best mate Ron, he said, don't worry about anything. Him and his other half will sort it all out while I'm away. You just go. Just worry all the time. Worry. We've just had a message, incidentally, from Phil's wife, who says he did try and fly and unfortunately has gone splat at the bottom of the flats. If you could send a picture of yourself there, that would be much appreciated. We'll put it on the website, okay? Zach says the turbulence is possibly caused from your angry listeners around the world. Why have I got angry listeners? I shouldn't have any angry listeners, should I? Why will I have angry listeners? What have I done to make them angry? Nothing, I fear. I don't think so. Anyway, so we left the house eventually, got to the airport, very quick. I checked in. I checked in online. You see, you can do that online check-in thing now. So you don't have to leave, otherwise you're there and going for all these details and she's filling in passports and all this. Now you just drop your bag off. It's very quick. Very quick. So, could you show me where there's... where is the Club World? Oh, yes, sir. Come this way, please. Took my bags off me, and that's it. Straight through to the lounge. The executive lounge, can I just say the executive, very nice, dear. Although I have to say they've recently redone the Heathrow executive lounge in the last couple of years, and it's not as good as it used to be. I think I prefer it the other as it was. So sitting there in the executive lounge, and I had a shower. Oh, yes. Well, I had a shower before I left, but I also like to make full use of the facilities in the business lounge, and I had a shower. Oh, it was wonderful. And so all these steam things, psh, firing out of you, psh, lovely. I then looked at the clock, and it was about, I don't know, it was about just coming up to 10 o'clock. My flight, no, was it? No, I lie. It was about 9 o'clock, and my flight is at 9:30. Okay, so I've come out of the shower. I thought, well, I'll have something to eat. And I had 2 lots, very greedy really, I had 2 lots of lovely beef curry. I do quite like a beef curry. Perhaps you'd like to invite me round to your home for one of those, would you? Can anyone do beef curry? I bet Fag Ash Lil can eat curry. Curry and lager, that's Fag Ash Lil's diet, isn't it? Curry and lager? Hang on a minute, let me see here. Right. Fag Ash Lil, you're writing messages that I'm getting, and I think they should be going somewhere else. I'm on air at the moment, so the messages come to me. It depends who's on at any one time, okay? So beef curry, and then I sat down and had that, and then I went over to get a cup of tea. It's this poor old lady, she was struggling with the tea machine. Why, oh why, we can't have little ladies serving up tea from proper cups, I don't know. The only thing with the tea in this lounge is that the cups are tiny. I mean, they really are small cups. I'm used to having a half a pint mug at home of tea, or at least a decent sized mug. And they've got all these tiny... I should write, really. I should write to Heathrow Airport and complain. Tiny little cups of tea. This woman was struggling with the buttons on the machine. I said, let me help you, my love. She was about 70 years old. Oh, she says, thanks very much. And so I helped her there, and I sat down. And then the little old lady came over and sat down opposite me. So, and I had a friend now. I have a friend already. You see how easily I make friends, boys and girls. Little old lady, she was about 70 years old, and we started talking. Her name was Ruth, and she used to be a school teacher. And I knew she was a school teacher because of the way she kept talking and talking and talking and talking. I mean, I nearly offered her a job, to be honest, here on United Kingdom Radio. I mean, she couldn't half talk. Teacher she was. Lovely, lovely, lovely lady. Anyway, so we're watching the board, and it now says there's a 1 hour delay till 10:30. And we thought, oh, well. Anyway, not to worry. Because we sat there and thought, well, it's only an hour. I'll go and have something else to eat. So I had a little rummage around, got a couple of bread rolls and some biscuits. Sat down with Ruth. We had another cup of tea and continued the conversation. You see, when you find someone to talk to, time just slides past, doesn't it? So we're watching this board, and it came to 10:30. Strange, we hadn't been called. And then the sign changed again. Plane delayed till 23:59. And I said, oh no, that's been put back again. Now don't forget, it was a 9:30 flight. It's now saying 23:59. Okay? And she says to me, oh, that's a funny time. Why have they put 23:59? I said, because at midnight, if it hasn't taken off by midnight, I do believe that it can't fly after midnight. I think we're not allowed to fly between... I think it's midnight and 4 a.m. or midnight... I'm sure it's midnight and 4 a.m. They're not allowed to have flights in and out of Heathrow Airport. So that's probably why it says 23:59. Oh, well. And then to make matters worse, at 10:45, they were closing the business lounge. So we all had to get up from our comfortable chairs and go into the first class lounge. Oh my God, it was wonderful in there. They got chandeliers hanging from the walls. They got endless amounts of wine and drink available for anyone to have. Packets and crisps, dear. They had bags of those kettle chips. You know, the cheese and onion kettle chips. Bags of those in first class. Lovely. Very, very nice indeed. So we sat in there, continuing to chat, and then round about 11:15, I think it was, 11:30, we were called. So that was good. So we all went onto the plane. About 2.5 hours. Was it 11:30? 9, 10, 11. No, so it's only two. It was only a 2-hour delay. It did say 23:59, but we started to get called. Now, when we got to the gate, Ruth and I spotted a group of men, about 4 of them, and they were really, really drunk. I mean, really badly drunk, these 4 blokes. And as I walked past them, all I heard one of them saying was, keep calm, you know they're all watching us now, they know we're all drunk, you know, try and keep calm, otherwise we won't get on the plane. And I don't actually know what happened to them, whether they got on there or not, those people on the plane. But they were very drunk. I don't understand why people need to get so drunk when they get on the plane. I mean, if anything was to happen, you know, you need your wits about you, don't you? You need to know where that life jacket is and what have you. Put it on and jump off the plane or whatever. If you can do that 2 miles up in the air. Well, I do often wonder sometimes, you know, those life jackets, you jump out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and they said there's a little light will illuminate. You know, have you seen the size of that light? Who is going to see that light from 2 miles above? Huh? And the whistle. Who's going to hear that? The only people that are going to hear that are the sharks that are going around you, dear, waiting for their dinner. Terrible. Terrible. Zach says, why did it say a minute before midnight? Zach, I've just read what Ash you've read there, and I can't mention what that says, except it involved security people at Heathrow Airport with rubber gloves on. I'm not going to say what he was saying there, or asking me. He says, why is it a minute before midnight? It's a minute before midnight because after midnight, planes are not allowed to take off. Then you'd have to wait till the next day. Can you imagine that? Awful. So the plane eventually left at 11:15. It was 10 to 12, a little bit earlier, so not too bad, was it really? A good flight. Good flight. I have to say, on these very long flights, and they are like 22, 23, 24 hours, on these very long flights, the films and entertainment on the planes are very, very important. Because it's very, very boring just sitting there. And I have to say, certainly on the way out there, I didn't think much of the film selection at all. I think I only watched 2 films in all that time on the way out there. I did a little bit of sleeping on the plane as well. The food, again, the food, there's plenty of it, okay, in that particular cabin, as well as having your meals. If you feel peckish in between, you go and help yourself to sandwiches or crisps, bits and pieces like that, which is quite nice. So plenty to eat, but a bit boring on the film front on the way out there. In fact, it was so boring, I can't even remember what actually films I was watching. So, bit disappointed there. We were going via Bangkok. Oh, yeah, that's it, I've written it down here. One of the films I watched on the way was called Buried. But has anyone seen that film, Buried? It's about this bloke, right, who was working in, I think it was Iraq or Iran or somewhere like that. And he had been knocked out, you know, unconscious and taken hostage. You don't see any of that. The beginning of the film is all very dark. Okay? And what's happened, this bloke has woken up and he is buried in a wooden box. And all he's got in that wooden box is a lighter, I think, and possibly a knife as well. And he's buried underneath sand. And the entire film is just him in that wooden box and watching how he copes with it all. He's got a mobile, he finds a mobile phone in there as well that will work. And the terrorists who buried him are telling him to make some phone calls and get them loads of money, like a couple of $1 million or something like that. He also speaks to another guy who's supposed to be like a rescue bloke, an American rescue bloke, who's looking for him. And this film goes on, and that's all it is, just a camera in the box. And eventually, that he kept getting false hopes up that someone was about to find him, and they never did. And then the sand starts coming. It's all very scary, actually. The sand starts pouring into the box, right? And then it finishes, and he's never rescued. Right at the end of the film, it sounds like he's about to be rescued, and he doesn't get rescued. It's awful. Dreadful thing. Isn't that remind me? Buried alive. How awful is that? But that hasn't happened to people, you know. People have been buried alive, you know. It's true. What's Phil doing here? Is he sending me something? Phil is sending me a picture. I won't have a look at that, Phil. Oh, yes, I will. Can I do that? I hope you're not sending me anything naughty. Let's see, Phil. How do I... Oh, can I open that? Oh, yeah, let's have a quick look at Phil. Now, you look like something off the Addams Family there, Phil. Please don't start having this... what do you call it? The face changing, plastic surgery on your face. I'm sure you're very good looking. Not as good looking as me, probably, but still quite good looking. Zach says, why is it okay to fly the minute before they aren't allowed? I don't know, do I? Do I work at an airport? No. Why don't you ring them up and ask? Heathrow Airport. I don't know what the phone number is. Ring them up and ask. I'm not working at airports. Fag Ash Lil says, tar for spoiling the end of the film. Were you going to watch it then? Were you going to watch that film? Were you going to watch that film, Fag Ash Lil? So good film, that. At the beginning, I thought it was very dark. Because the only thing is, of course, on those little TV screens on the back of the seats on planes, it's always a bit dark, isn't it? It seems to be a brightness control, but no contrast. And it's a little bit, the screen, certainly not like my 50-inch plasma I've got here, dear. That's what we want on these planes, 50-inch plasmas. Anyway, so we went to Bangkok. We changed at... well, we didn't change. We got off the plane at Bangkok. Literally, all we had time for was a quick walk around the airport and then back on again. It was all a bit mad, really. So we were all down in Bangkok about just half an hour or so, and then off we went again there. Helped myself to crisps and a Mars bar on the plane on the last leg of the journey between Bangkok and Sydney. I think that the one thing that I would improve about flying on those planes, and I flew with British Airways. The one thing, we need wider seats. We do need wider seats. Now, fortunately, as you know, I don't have an expensive lifestyle. I like to turn things off, right? Which I wish was the case while I was away, because I knew that while I was away, everything would be on full blood. Ronnie has turned everything on. The gas was on full power. I mean, the place must have been hotter than it was in Sydney in this house while I was away. I tell you that now. Terrible, dear. Anyway, so I save up for the business class seat on the plane, right? It's a long way to go, very uncomfortable in the back. So I save up the money, and that's it. And that's my expensive part of the holiday. The hotels I stay, all cheap. Travel lodge, okay? I didn't need to stay in a cheap hotel. Bed, shower, toilet. What else do you want? And a telly, please. Thank you very much. But I save up for the business class seat on the plane. So that's what I did this time. And the one thing I think they could do a little bit better is wider seats. You know, because the seat, you push a button and it goes completely flat. But, you know, you're kind of a little bit squashed into this. I don't know if you're squashed. I mean, it's 100 times better than sitting in a seat that won't go flat. Okay? Fair enough. But I do feel the seats need to be a little wider. On the other hand, I don't actually see how they could make them wider, because you've got the aisles, haven't you? And probably not enough room to make the seats any wider. Maybe. Actually, on the way home, we had to walk through first class to get to business class. And there doesn't seem to be much of a difference between first and business, seat-wise. I did notice that. They certainly don't seem to be any longer. Or, well, you don't need them any longer, actually. But I thought that the business class seats would be a bit wider, or the first class seats would be a bit wider, or they'd have little individual cabins with a curtain across them, or something like that. But they don't. So I don't really think there's much point in upgrading to a first class, if that is you can afford it, because it is very, very expensive to fly in a first class. The other thing, it seems to be quicker to fly to Sydney via Bangkok. Don't know if that's right or not. Has anyone else noticed that? Has anyone flown between the UK and Australia and gone via Bangkok or Singapore? Or, of course, you can do it via Dubai as well, can't you? There's someone. I've never been to Dubai. So there we are. I think it was 11 hours to Bangkok and then another 8 hours on to Sydney. And I'm sure it's longer if you go via the Singapore. Good landings. Good landings, both at Bangkok and Sydney. Cabin staff, very good. Always good. The cabin staff are always very good. But one of the blokes, I say boys, blokes. There was a bloke next to me, okay, who must have been 30 years old. Something like that. But one of the airline hostesses made such a fuss of him. And she came up and she says, "How are you? I haven't seen you for so long." It turns out that this bloke, who was about 30, is her godson. Right? And she made such a fuss. And it was, quite frankly, it was embarrassing. And she was bringing... she was bringing up other members of the cabin staff team. This is my godson, so-and-so. He must have been so embarrassed. I'm sure he got extra glasses of champagne, you know. Shocking, isn't it? So there we are. We arrived at Sydney at about 8:45 in the morning, which was much later than we anticipated because of the delay at London. But that was okay. It was very, very busy at Sydney Airport at that time as well. Very, very busy indeed. Got 2 shuttle buses. Oh, yes, we like the shuttle buses. It's actually cheaper, for some reason, to go from the airport to your hotel in a shuttle bus than it is to take the train. And also, let me warn you, if you go to Sydney and you do take the train from the airport to the city, it is very quick, but at the city end, it's likely you will have a load of stairs to go up. If you go at certainly Museum Station. And when you got to... I know this because I did this the very first time. I got a train, you see. And there's a good there's 4 flights of stairs to go up. And with 2 cases, let me tell you, that is not fun. I was staying at the Travel Lodge in Wentworth Avenue. Very nice room. Very, very nice room. I got straight in there. And of course, because you do have that expensive seat in the plane and it goes flat and you can sleep, and I did sleep between Bangkok and Sydney for about 5 hours, so I was quite pleased about that. When you get to Sydney, you're not tired. None of this, I better have a rest before I do anything, because you're so knackered. I'm not really tired. So I went straight out to the supermarket to purchase a few items. Oh yes, for my breakfast. I don't go out to breakfast every morning, although I did have a full English breakfast on many mornings, but that'll come in a later show. I can't tell you everything now. We don't want to rush it all. Went out to the supermarket, I was quite surprised. The price of food in Australia seems to have gone up a lot since the last time I visited. I bought blueberries, bran flakes with sultanas, 3 bananas and milk, and that cost me 20 Australian. 20 bucks for that, which was about a tenner, which I thought was quite expensive. Walked around for a bit, and then I went to see my friend who works in a hairdresser there, Paul. It's always the first person I visit whenever I go to Australia is my friend Paul. I know this is stupid, I used to go out with him apparently, many, many years ago. And do you know what? I've got no I don't know why. It's probably when I was going out clubbing and all that, but doing those dreadful things in those clubs. But I have no recollection of actually going out with this person, which is a bit of a worry. Have you got sort of periods in your life where you can't remember something or whatever like that? So I went to see him, and that was all very nice. Then I had a little sleep in the afternoon. At night time, I went round, I met up with Paul and his other half, Wayne, and we had a pizza, which was very nice. That would have been on the Thursday night. Had a pizza with Paul and Wayne. Very, very nice as well. And then went to bed. Okay, so that's the first part of my holiday. Can I just do some messages just coming in at the moment? And Ben says, good morning, Ben, who did my karaoke nights while I was away. He says, only just managed to get on Skype. Well done, Ben. Is it playing up a little bit today? Dear me. Danny wants to know, have I joined the Mile High Club? And what's that then? Do we have to be filthy and disgusting on this programme? Do try and keep it clean, Danny. Don't suppose you want to come on a plane with me and join... No, it doesn't matter. Wayne says, Singapore, you also stop at Perth too. Now, I didn't stop at Perth. Certainly not. No, we went from Heathrow to Bangkok, Bangkok to Sydney. Doesn't stop at Perth. No, Wayne, it doesn't stop at Perth at all, mate. Danny, I do know what the Mile High Club is. Thank you very much. He's very, very rude. You're being very rude today. You're a little bit frisky today, aren't you, Danny? You're a little bit frisky today, aren't you? I'm sure you'll be watching one of those films after I've finished my show. You naughty person. Good morning to Ian. Hello, Ian in Canada. Who says... Oh, sorry. Is that a message for someone else? Stay on the watch button. Lee, will you not... Don't start sending messages while I'm on air. It gets very confusing, Lee. It's obviously Lee who's sending messages to someone else, and it's all going on while I'm doing the show. Lee Mills will be up with you at 12 o'clock UK time as well, okay? Zach says, you forgot Queensland got flooded and tossed around by a storm. I know, I'm coming to all that. I did mention all this on Tuesday. I'm very aware of the terrible time that Australia's had this year. Since the beginning of the year. You've had an entire state flooded. You've had 2 cyclones hit that same state. And now you've got bushfires over the other side, haven't you? Dreadful. Dreadful. Right. Okay, now we've got some emails to do. I shall tell you more about that on Saturday, okay? Emails are pouring in. We've got some old emails to read as well. Let's have a look here. Hello, James. Oh, James is with us today. James is with us live for a change. Hello, James. And he says, hi, Chris. Frankie and Benny's is the more upmarket end of the fast food business. Sounds like you were pampered at the airport. Oh, we do like a bit of pampering. It's the only time I am ever pampered, you know. James, I'm sure you've got someone there to pamper you. Well, I haven't. Only the cat who keeps meowing. James says, I'm afraid fast... Oh, fast what? Fast seric places. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. I'm afraid fast something places are not like what they used to be, because it's the case of what you see is what you get now. You said that, why do people get drunk before a flight? I think it's probably nerves. Yeah, you could be right there, although I think some of them are just out for a drink up, really. As for the midnight plane thing, having a massive restriction... Here we go, Zach was asking me with this. As for the midnight plane thing, Heathrow have a massive restriction on taking off and landing at night because they are very noisy. Glad you had a nice holiday. And as for travelling, nothing ever runs smoothly, as I found that with the concerns of the little problems from James. Yeah, well, I don't know. And James wants to know how the decorating went. I'll come on to that in a future show. We can't fit it in all at the same time. We really can't fit it in all at the same time, okay? Wayne sent this in just after my birthday. He said, you asked on Saturday's show if you should keep your videos going. Yes, we were asking the question, should we carry on doing the video side of things or just the audio? Now, I have to tell you, 2 people have said that the audio is more important. With one, surprise, surprise, Ross Patzelt is once again going on about the fact that he doesn't like videos. Ross, we've heard it time and time again. Give it a rest. Give it a rest. We've heard it time and time again. We know you don't like videos. Don't go on and on about it. I'm glad that I am not a person to go on and on about the same thing all the time. Ross doesn't like the videos. Everyone else has said keep them, including Wayne, who says, frankly, if you totally stopped the video, I'd miss seeing you. I'd miss seeing you as well, Wayne. It's a shame it's not a two-way thing. I could have banks of screens in front of me, seeing all your pretty little faces beaming away back at me. Wayne says, perhaps if it's taking a long time, you could do the video on a Saturday and just do audio during the week, if that helps. And that's from Wayne. Do you know what? Thanks for the suggestion there, Wayne. But I think it's got to be all or nothing, you know? I think you've either got to do the video or not do the video, and for now, I'm going to keep the video going. Hello to Paul, who writes, hi Chris, happy birthday for last Saturday. Glad you're back. I really missed seeing your videos. Please don't stop the videos. I really enjoy them. Take care, from Paul. All right, so thank you very much for that, Paul. Oh, is that all the emails? I thought we had a few more left than that. So I have got through them all, have I? Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's good news, isn't it? I'll be able to tell you a bit more about the holiday then. Or do you want to know about the decorating? What do you want to know about? Someone was asking about decorating. Yes, we've done all the... That's good news. Fully up to date on the emails, I think. Yes, we are fully up to date on the videos. Phil also says, please keep the videos. Take no notice of anyone else. Believe me, I don't. I used to listen to other people moaning and that all the time, and I would do something about it. Now, I don't listen anymore. Because generally, I'm right. I think I must be right all the time. What do you reckon? Zach wants to know, did you get jet lag? Not going there. I have still got it now, though, a week ago. In fact, much to the point that I'm going to take a few nights off. I'm going to take one of my nights off for a couple of weeks. Thursday nights, I've decided to take off for a few weeks because I don't seem to be getting... I'm waking up still at 8 o'clock in the morning. And my 2-hour afternoon sleep, instead of waking up after 2 hours, the alarm is waking me up. And I don't seem to have... I thought I would settle pretty quickly back into my time zone, but it hasn't really happened. So thanks for asking that, Zach. Certainly in Australia, no, I wasn't jet-lagged at all there. Funny, isn't it? Phil says, we like to see our leader. I'm hardly a leader. What, cub leader? Cubs, do your best. We will do our best. Ben says, you're never wrong. Just give them the wrong information. I think you're right, Ben. It's right. By the way, karaoke lovers, we are going to try, I tell you this, Ben, as well, we're going to try a new karaoke night in Belushi's in Fulham. Now, we are going down there, I'm going down there on Tuesday night next week, just to try out the sound system. Now, sometimes you get into a place, you set up, so it's not like a proper karaoke night. So we're just going to try out the sound system. But if anyone's around the area, in Fulham, Belushi's in Fulham, and it's right on a roundabout. Okay, it's right on a roundabout. Belushi's in Fulham next Tuesday night. Only a short one, sort of 9:30 to midnight. Okay, we're going to give that a little go and see how it all sounds down there. All right. Now, oh yes, decorating. My decorating has all been... Oh, it's 3 minutes to 12, isn't it? Look at the time. My decorating has virtually all been done. Well, it has all been done. And I have to say, my best friend Ron, he's had a decorator here, a guy called Mike, who's in his 50s. He does a reasonable job. Yeah, not bad at all. He certainly doesn't overcharge me. I paid £700 to have 4 rooms painted and decorated. So I'm very pleased with that. He does a very good job, and it's all done. And very pleased with it, really. Very pleased. Ron went out and bought some curtains as well. And surprise, surprise, the money I left him, if there were any extra bits and pieces, I left him a few £100, you know, for perhaps there was more work to be done that he didn't know about. Anyway, there wasn't. So I had intended to buy a brand new carpet for the spare room. So that's all down in there, and it looks really nice. The spare room the spare bedroom, and I bought a new bed for there as well. It's got a new bed in it, new curtains. It's a lovely blue colour and like a beigey sort of very light brown carpet in there. Really very, very nice indeed. So I'm very pleased with how that turned out. The living room downstairs is now all green. And that's looking rather delicious. Not as delicious as you, dear friend and loyal listener to United Kingdom Radio. Very, very nice. That's all green. I had the little room done where you come in. There's sort of a very small room. You come in and then it's the kitchen. And in there is like the washing machine, tumble dryer, which I never use the tumble dryer. There's a fridge and a freezer. That's all been done in white as it was before. So that looks a lot cleaner. Well, I did have another room done, didn't I? 1, 2, 3. Oh, and the kitchen. The kitchen is now yellow. The kitchen is now yellow. So it's all come on very well and it all looks rather nice. I'll have to take some photos and put them on the Facebook for you at some point. All right, boys and girls? And yeah, I think that looked rather nice. I've also got a man coming round to measure for some shutters inside the windows. Some like slat shutters, which we saw when we went out shopping on Tuesday this week to Kingston. Anyway, time for me to go, boys and girls. I'll be back with you again live on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock UK time. Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock UK time. The email address for this show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Thanks very much for listening to me and watching this afternoon. I'll see you again Saturday. Have a good day.